Hi guys! Today I have a little treat for you. We technically are making a recipe, but it's for all natural food dyes made from fruits and vegetables. That way we can avoid all those nasty food colorings with all kinds of chemicals in them. I'm going to be showing you how to make all the basic colors, which is black, brown, blue, purple, green, orange, red, pink, and yellow. I don't think I forgot any. But of course, with these colors, you can mix certain ones and make different variations of the colors, which this is very helpful with Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas coming up. Then we'll have Valentine's and Easter, where both of those holidays have nice pretty colors. So this is a really great thing to know how to do in the kitchen. To make all these colors, it takes less ingredients than you would think. You're going to need some spinach, red cabbage, beetroot, turmeric, a little bit of baking soda, fresh wild blueberries, and of course some water. Oh, and apple juice, which you can either make it at home, fresh from fresh apples, or if there's a really nice organic brand that you trust, you can definitely use that. We're going to start off with one of the easiest ones, which is the yellow food coloring. For that, you're going to need some apple juice, water, fresh turmeric, or powdered turmeric. For some reason, it is very hard for me to find fresh turmeric in my area, so I'm using some organic powdered turmeric. If you're lucky enough to be able to find some fresh turmeric, you're going to want to grate that and collect the juices from it. Now, it doesn't take much of the turmeric to create a really pretty bright, vivid yellow. So we're going to start off with just a bit. Now this is for if you're using the powdered turmeric, as I am. If you're using the fresh turmeric, you're just going to want to collect 1 tablespoon of that juice. Now if you're using the powdered turmeric, such as I am, we're going to add a half a teaspoon of the powdered turmeric to 1 tablespoon of water. And we'll go ahead and just mix that up. Now turmeric has a very robust taste, so to cut that kind of twang the dye might give off, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of the apple juice. And that's all it takes to make the yellow food dye. Making that yellow food dye, we're using a 3-to-1 ratio. So 3 tablespoons of the apple juice to 1 tablespoon of fresh turmeric juice, or 1 tablespoon of water with half a teaspoon of the powdered turmeric added to it. Obviously, if you want a more pale yellow, you can either cut it with some more apple juice, or you can just use less turmeric. The next food coloring we're going to make is green. Now there's a few different ways you could make green food coloring. Of course, you could opt for some powders, such as greens like spinach or kale that have already been powdered, or you can use a matcha powder. Then of course we can use spinach, kale, or whatever green you like, and we can juice them ourselves. I'm going to show you 2 different methods to make the green food coloring. I'm going to show you how I make green food coloring with matcha powder, and then I'm going to show you how I make it with fresh spinach leaves. Here I have 1 tablespoon of organic matcha powder, and I'm just going to add 1/4 cup of water to it. So simple. If you choose to use a greens powder or a matcha to make your green food coloring, and you want a lighter, brighter green, of course just use less of the powder, or you can add a bit of yellow food coloring to it to brighten it up. Now to make the green food coloring from fresh leaves of either spinach or kale, or like I said, whatever green you choose to use, the quickest, easiest route is to just use a juicer if you have one, but if you don't, we're going to use a mortar and pestle. I'm simply just going to grind up some of the leaves by hand and it will release its juices. Here I just have the container I'm going to use to store the green food dye, which is just a glass jar and a cheesecloth. We're going to pour the ground up spinach from the mortar and pestle into the cheesecloth. And we'll go ahead and just give the spinach a squeeze. Now there is a bit of variation between these two shades of green, but just based on the color you're going for, you'll just need to decide which one you think will give you the outcome you're hoping for. You can kind of see right here the different colors. This one is significantly darker. This one is more of an olive. Next, we're going to move on to the red and pink food coloring. For that, you'll just need the same ingredient, which is just beets, and we're going to extract some beet juice. I'm probably only going to need one of these, so I'm going to use this disturbingly large one, which I don't know what's going on with the fruits and vegetables. I buy organic and then it doesn't look organic. I don't know, but we're going to use this one. I'm going to start by just removing the end and the stems. Now I know beets have a very earthy taste, and if you're worried about that coming out in your baked goods or whatever you're using the red or pink food dye in, don't. Because you can simply sweeten the food coloring with apple juice. To do that, you'll use 1 part beet juice to 3 parts apple juice. And all the red and pink food coloring is just beet juice. All we're gonna do is just grate up this beet. I used most of the beet, but I'm sure we have enough, so I'm just gonna stop here. Again, I just have the container that I'm gonna store the food coloring in, which again is a glass jar covered with a cheesecloth, because we're gonna extract the juices from the beets like we did the spinach by squeezing it. Now I know beet juice is more on the pink side, obviously, but if you're looking for more of a deep red, such as like a Christmas red, or like a crimson, or even like a maroon, just kind of mess around with the mixology aspect of the food coloring. And in the past, I've noticed that mixing a bit of deep blue, or even sometimes a black, can kind of give me more of that deeper red color that I'm wanting. But if you do add enough of this, it is quite red itself. And then of course with creating pink, you're just gonna add a very little of this, especially for pale pink, or for a richer pink such as a hot pink. Obviously just add a bit more and more until you get the color you like. Eventually though, when you add enough, it is red. We're now gonna move on to making the purple and the blue food coloring, starting with the purple food coloring. For the purple food coloring, I'm going to be showing you 2 different methods, one using cabbage and one using blueberries. And for the blue food coloring, all you'll need is the cabbage and a little bit of baking soda. So let's head over to the stove. I'm first going to show you the blueberry method. For the blueberry method, we're going to add 1/4 cup of fresh wild blueberries to a pot. And then we're going to add 1/4 cup of water to the pot as well. We're going to turn this onto a medium heat and bring it to a boil. We've reached a boil, so we're going to go ahead and turn the temperature down to low and allow it to simmer for 5 to 10 minutes. The blueberries have simmered for 10 minutes, and now we're going to go ahead and mash them. We're now just going to allow it to cool for a little bit. If it seems to be a little low on water, just add about 2 tablespoons at a time. The crushed blueberries will continue to dye the water. Just like we did with the beets and the spinach for the red and pink and green food coloring, we're going to strain this mixture through a cheesecloth into a container. And I've also let this cool for about 15-20 minutes. And here's our purple dye made from the blueberries. The next method to make the purple food coloring is with the cabbage. We're going to go ahead and remove 4 or 5 of these outer leaves, and we're going to go ahead and wash them off to remove any dirt. Next, we're either going to give the washed cabbage leaves a rough chop, or we can just tear them into pieces and place them in our pot. I'm just going to tear it into pieces and place it in the pot. Now we're going to cover the cabbage with 2 cups of water. We're going to turn the stove onto a medium-high heat, and we're going to bring this mixture to a boil. We'll allow it to boil for 5 minutes. We're now going to turn this down to a medium-low or low heat and allow it to simmer for 10 minutes. Our cabbage has simmered for 10 minutes, and now we're going to go ahead and remove the cabbage leaves. We can see that our once purple cabbage is now mostly green. That's because we extracted that purple coloring from the cabbage and it seeped into the water. And I know it's hard to see from this angle, but we have a really pretty purple color in here. I'm gonna go ahead and pour it into 2 jars though so you can see. Let me show you. And here's our pretty purple food coloring. Now I separated the food coloring into 2 different jars because in order to make the blue food coloring, we make it the same way that we do to make the purple food coloring, that being with the purple cabbage. The only difference is that once we have our purple food coloring, we're gonna allow one of them to cool completely, which is very important because if it's not completely cool, then it won't transition into the pretty blue color that we're wanting. Now concerning the taste, since we are using a cabbage to create this pretty purple dye, I have never had any issue with the cabbage taste coming out in anything I add this to, but if you are worried about that, I would suggest adding a simple syrup or maybe just some regular white sugar to it. I wouldn't suggest using apple juice like I did with the red and pink food coloring, just because this purple food coloring isn't quite as concentrated as the red and pink food coloring. The color of the apple juice might kind of disturb the pretty purple color. Also, the green food coloring made from greens, sometimes people say it kind of gives a green earthy taste to whatever food they add it to. With that, you can also add the apple juice to that to kind of cut that taste. While our purple food coloring that we're turning into blue food coloring is cooling, I'm going to show you how to make orange, brown, and black with the colors we have. I'm going to start by showing you how to make orange. To do that, we're going to start by just adding some yellow food coloring to our bowl. Now our beet juice, which is our red and pink, is very concentrated, so we want to add just a few drops at a time. And there we have our orange food coloring. Now I'm going to show you how to make brown. We're going to need red, yellow, and blue or purple. I'm going to be using purple. And I'm going to add a touch of green. I just wanted to point out that obviously red, yellow, and blue make brown, but our blue is still cooling, so it's not ready yet. Obviously, there's other alternatives to creating a pretty brown color, which you can use espresso or cocoa powder. This is just the alternative to those if you're not wanting those types of flavors in your food. And now I'm going to show you how to make black. I also want to point out that you can simply make black with just red, yellow, and blue, as well as the brown. I'm going to start by using a bit of the brown with some purple. And we'll add just a drop of red. And some green. And here we have our pretty black. And of course you can make this an even richer black, but this is what I got for now. So now let's move on to making our blue. To make the blue, it's very simple. All we're gonna do is add just a touch of baking soda to it. And here we have our blue food coloring. Lastly, I just want to point out that the purple food coloring made with the blueberries is very concentrated but has little to no taste. Thank you guys for watching. If you happen to like this video or found it interesting or even helpful in planning your next holiday party, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave those below in the comments section. Bye y'all!